this show is extremely significant because anytime at this point I have become more aware of Mickey Starr's title run and potentially giving Mickey some time to breathe. And by that I mean taking the belt off Mickey Starr. And thus, if I was to take the belt off Mickey Starr, I feel like it needs to be documented because it is a significant event in this Let's Play, I guess you would call it, with Mickey no if Mickey is no longer champion, but at the same time it is significant if Ray Kingman comes up short because what happens next if Ray Kingman comes up short? But this show opens with Sid competing because, as I said in a previous stream, Sid has been a mute. He has not said a word since. He has not said a word since the challenge and has only competed twice. On two other occasions, he has competed since the challenge. I thought, reasonably, I thought that the one last week on Slamfest, was the first time that he competed since the challenge. But as it is, it seems like that wasn't the case. Chaim again steps up to try and speak with Sid to get him to talk. What type of man are you? Rocky again appears to walk Sid away. Rocky stops Sid from laying out Chaim Silverman. Because he knows, Rocky does, laying hands on an announcer would land Sid on the shelf with Ace and Blackjack. Laying hands on an announcer would cause Sid to get suspended. Now we move to Hollywood and Hawaii versus the One Percenters. And honestly, I was actually going to have the One Percenters win the belts back. But with the fact that Mayhem is injured, I may actually let Hollywood and Lou Hanato keep the belts because I may just let Mayhem go. I may let Mayhem go away for a little bit. I may let him go away for a little bit and take a break, especially depending on he's injured for 56 days. I may let him come back after a while with, from his injury just to give him some time away and also give people a break from Mayhem and, Knight Rider being the tag team champions because those two were the tag team champions. Sorry, wrong titles. Those two were the tag team champions for the majority of 1979. So giving Hollywood and Lou the opportunity to keep the belts for a little while would be something that would help. Um, how do you put it? It would help put over the fact that this division is more than just the one percenters, and that it's something that gives us another division. You know that there's a reason for us to have another division. I guess is the best way to put it. If my dad didn't stop Sid, I would have, but he beat me to it. We are both worried about Sid and want to help, but he's not helping us help him because he hasn't said anything. — 15. Lance Rush has had 15 days. As television champion, and I know it's going to get to the point where we need to. Well, we don't need to give him, give someone a long reign, but I can't just keep having the title bounce around. Somebody's got to get a reign with the belt. Rip, Richie, and the Outlaw. Hmm. See, I want to do something, but I also don't want it to be where he's listed as his original name. So I think that you know what? Actually, I have an idea. With success comes the ability to add more because others want success. Wanting coach to leave maxed. AST, but the AST jump the Outlaw, and Joey and Teddy actually run out to help the Outlaw, much like the Outlaw helped Joey and Teddy, specifically, much like how the Outlaw stood up for Teddy and Beautiful Babbitt against the All Star team when Joey was hung up. So that's why Team Supreme stood up for the Outlaw now. Sooner or later, I am working on more new updates for the renders. Um, Sooner or later, those new updates will come. Honestly, I kind of sort of maybe forgot how to do the renders. So I may need to brush up on that before I can go and add more. Because Chris Marcus is one that's going to be getting an upgrade. Um, Chris Marcus is one that's going to be getting an upgrade, and Viking Strom is going to be getting an upgrade. But also, the quicker I remember how to do it, or the sooner I remember how to do it, the more likely it is that I will be able to add more because I'll remember how to do it. You know what I mean? So the sooner the easier. Yes, you know what I'm trying to say. That's it. You know what I'm trying to say. Um, Sky really. Why would I give him an ongoing contract? I never give ongoing contracts. Um, I didn't give him his ongoing contract. I've just kept him and have it fixed up his contract. Usually the first thing I do when I get to a new company is eliminate the contracts that never end, because in my opinion, it is better to have contracts that end rather than contracts that never do. Because what's the point of having contracts that never end? I understand it's with people 90% of the time that are easily replaceable. But my point is, sometimes you want to eliminate those people and get new people that are easily replaceable, because it's better to have updated people in some situations. It's better to have updated people in certain situations, because sometimes fans can get tired of seeing the same people over and over and over again. Jive Solbro interrupts Chris, declaring a nice win streak. A nice win streak. But I will end your streak if you accept my challenge. And no, even though it sounds like Jive Solbro is challenging, even though it sounds like Jive Solbro is challenging Chris Marcus, let me give you a brief description right here. Chris Marcus mount a winning streak over the last few months, and now brings him a challenge. Jive Soul will find new challengers for Chris, and the two fight, but Chris will not know who the challenger is before he's in the ring. So there's no planning ahead, there's no, being able to train for someone or being able to know. It's, you got to do it, no advance notice. That it's, you got to mount your plan as the match is going on. For Chris, it's a learning experience, because fresh out of the frying pan into the fire. And if you watched the one I put up recently, I believe I mentioned in that one that Chris Marcus is somebody that I actually see as a potential future star with this company. So I want to get him to work if, I'll do anything to get him to work, which I know sounds, I don't know how that sounds, but I'll do anything to get him, not, I'll do anything to get him to work. I'm figuring out ways to get him over, and even if Jive Soul is not coach, he's on the same level as Jive Soul is Chris. So it's like maybe building up each other, I guess is the best way to put it. But the Blazings meet Marcus and Drake McWade. Teddy and Joey, of course, get the victory. But post match, guess who's back? Guess who's back? Post match. Uh, well, that's more that, but that's where the referees come in. And I, of course, don't know another referee. Oh, Gene. Post match, the Deadly Gamble reappear, have returned from suspension. But referees, but SWF staff, including matchmaker Antonio Moretti, and Babbitt, cool things down and block a fight. Or try and stop one. I mean, I'm thinking that there's a potential, I'm thinking that I could have had Pat Barrett come out, like some low level, lower level guys, and try and have them, break up the fight. Because I know in Mid South they have that happen when, they lose control. But I just feel like it wouldn't fit. And, the staff is who's supposed to come out. And if the staff can't keep control, that's when the wrestlers come out. You know what I mean? So I kind of went that route instead of the other route because also Babbitt fits because she's going to be with the Blazings anyway. But either way, the hottest feud in SWF now has the chance to get underway because the Deadly Gamble's back from their suspension. I was going to have them calm the crowd, but at the same time, I don't know if I want them to because I don't know if the crowd needs to after the Chris Marcus match. Not to say that Chris is not good. It's just that he's considered a lowly, a preliminary wrestler, and unimportant versus unimportant doesn't really go over well, especially on pay per view. You know, I know last time I was speaking in riddles, but I just want to say, Outlaw, watch your back, because the AST is full of snakes. As Romeo is speaking from his experience with Larry Grubbs and Alex Pierce, that he knows the group is filled with snakes. You know, he knows that the group is filled with snakes because he was victim to the group. He fell victim to the group not too long ago. And basically, he's got the back of, he's got the back of, he's got the back of Mr. Mr. Outlaw alongside, obviously, our boys, Teddy and Joey. But with Teddy and Joey busy with the deadly gamble, somebody else, now busy with the deadly gamble, somebody else may have to step up and watch the back of the outlaw. That's where Romeo Hart comes in. And here's the reason why I brought in two enhancement guys, or local talent, I guess you would call them. It's because of Aries getting another tag team match and Aries getting featured on the pay-per-view. Aries introduces someone else to the Aries Titans. Aries Titans will be at full strength in a few when golden dreams are upon us. Aries is hinting at the Golden Dreams event, which is the October event for Supreme. So Aries is hinting at another member. Speaking of a member of Aries Titans, Angus McLeod goes against a member of Aries Titans as Angus wants to break Thor's full Nelson. Angus allows Thor to apply the full Nelson, and though he puts in an effort, eventually passes out. Doesn't give up, though. Angus does not give up, though. That is the most important part. Angus does not give up. We got to do our cage matches, which I'm actually going to swap. I'm actually going to swap the matches because it shouldn't be back-to-back cage matches, and I think even in Texas they didn't do back-to-back cage matches, so we're not going to do back-to-back cage matches here. Um, I just had something pop into my head that could be added to that could be added to um the Sid Streets rivalry or the Sid Streets angle. Honestly, I don't know which direction I want to go. Honestly, I don't know which direction I want to go, but the fact of the matter is, I mean, I have an idea of what to do with Sid, I mean, with Dusty as the champion. I just don't know what would be next for Hagar. You know, but I mean, giving Hagar the US title was basically a thank you for being so willing to do anything I asked and being a company guy. And I think 75 days may be a solid enough reign. Uh, Wait, I have an idea. I have an idea. I have an idea. So this swaps with this. This goes up here, so this has to go up here. And then well, we don't have to do a post match segment. I don't think. Oh wait. Uh, Before I select who's going to win, let's go back and make sure I learn a lesson and maybe have this match go as long as the previous one. And this match is going to go as long as the previous one. Excuse me. But I'm also noticing that this is the second big time event that's happening in New England. So I think that maybe scrapping the next show from New England would be the ideal situation. I mean, if this match was the main event of a big time show and got that rating, there's no reason why I should give it a little bit more time because it showed that it was the right time, right place, right everything. So there's that. And now I think some people realized it when I first opened it, and that is when I first opened the video, and that is that I wouldn't be recording this if it wasn't a big deal. But I I mean it honestly can't be the fact that he's not over in Puerto Rico and Hawaii as to that being the reason. But I knew this would happen because it happened with Sid to a degree, and I just thought it was the type of angle, the type of finish I was picking. But we gotta let it happen because we can't be held hostage by fear. We gotta let it go. And this is the reason why. This is the reason why I chose to not have that finishing segment happen after Dusty's match, because there were two ways I could have went with Dusty, and we'll talk about it after the show. I chose the second way because the second way popped into my head after Hagar tried to block the match. After Hagar tried to block the match, an idea popped into my head. I think this is all the members of. Oh no, we're missing Mr. McKigman. We're missing Mr. McKigman. The All-Star team close out the event celebrating with Kingman's hard-fought victory, ending an era in SWF. It's not official yet, but it is about to be. As Sid opens the show against Ivan Zolanov, as Sid is still the center of attention, even with the world title out of the picture, Sid is still one of the most talked about people, and unfortunately, we did not sell out Lindell Stadium, which I am very disappointed about. But this is one of the reasons why I wanted to let Mayhem take a break, because it's just going to let him. I mean, I know it's going to be a little bit of a problem because they're not going to be looked at as positive in the feud, but what are you going to do? This is also Dusty's first time addressing the fact that his brother hasn't said anything, hasn't spoken since the challenge, and Dusty is now saying how much he's worried, how worried he is about his brother. But now we move to the All-Star team as the All-Star team swarms the Outlaw, with Marcus McKing specifically pointing out that you can't stop success, and that's what we are. We are successful. The Outlaw, though, is helped by the people he helped. The Outlaw is assisted by the Blazing Flames. And it just so happens that the Blazings have unfinished business with the tag team champions, Rip and Richie, but are also fighting Drake and Marcus McKing later tonight. The Outlaw is also going to flip. But this is what I also meant. I mean, this is what I also meant with Chris and New Blood, that it wasn't a bad segment. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. But we got the Jive Soul Challenge starting with Jive Solbro finally getting busy and doing something. So now all managers, to my knowledge, all managers are actually doing something. All managers are actually doing something. Um, and keeping them busy. And I blame Richard Eason for the Jive Sobro because he's the reason why Jive is still here. I'm the reason why Buford T. Laramie is still here. So it's kind of a balance of, well, you overextended a manager, I overextend a manager. It's an equal back and forth. But because he's still here, I had to figure out something for him to do. I'm not just going to release him, even though I really didn't have any plan for him. I waited and found something. But also, the problem with the All Star team is this, that I think the only tag team in the All Star team, actually, I don't think Ripcord and Drake McWade have ever teamed, but the only All Star team tag team that actually has good chemistry is Marcus and Richie, to my knowledge. But even with their bad chemistry, Marcus McKing and Drake McWade, Teddy and Joey still bring them to a 70. Because Joey Flame is absolutely insane right now with a 99 in-ring performance. And I'm also going to point out that I'd be opening the door for two hot or heated tag team rivalries because Ace and Blackjack are back. I also got to repackage Babbitt. I love how the referees didn't negatively. I mean, I understand that Gene and Benny were not rated, but the referees still did not have a negative impact on the segment like Antonio and Babbitt did. So that's good. Holy crap! Holy crap! I had a feeling it would be a good match, but I didn't expect it to be that good of a match. Jesus. Maybe Romeo Hart should be given some more of my attention. Maybe Romeo should be maybe I should give my attention back to Romeo, because Romeo had my attention earlier in the year. But Romeo basically says he's got the back of. I think we spoke about this when I was booking the show first off, and that is that Romeo said with Teddy and Joey focused on the Deadly Gamble now, somebody's got to watch the back of the Outlaw because he's dealing with a bunch of snakes when it comes to the All Star team, and you know so basically Romeo's throwing himself in the hat, throwing his name in the hat to watch the back of the Outlaw as the Outlaw fights off the All-Star team. Now, I know initially the plan seemed to have Dusty Streets win the US title. The plan initially was to have Dusty Streets win the US title. It was. But with Teddy and Joey going against Deadly Gamble, it leaves the tag team titles open. It leaves the tag team titles open to where Dusty can now come to his brother and offer something that the SWF fans have not seen in almost 2 years, because it was Sid and Rocky that were the most recent tag team, with Dusty being focused as United States champion. But Dusty and Sid have not teamed together, to my knowledge, since 1977. They have not teamed together in almost 2 years. So Dusty can offer his brother the opportunity to give the fans back the Streets of Rage for the first time in 2 years. And that is something that he would not have been able to do, or it would not have been looked at in the same way if Dusty was U.S. champion. But Dusty's next to step up to go for his brother, to try and get his brother to speak. And reforming the Streets of Rage for the first time in 2 years would be something that could get his brother to speak. Mighty Thor and Angus MacLeod, and even if it doesn't get Sid to speak, it will definitely get a reaction from the fans wherever we're at. Mighty Thor and Angus MacLeod, as Angus tries to put up, tries to break out of the full Nelson, but falls to Mighty Thor, does not submit though. He does not submit. He passes out. But Thor feels that he proved a point by basically making Angus submit, making Angus pass out. And this is a bigger again, it's the bigger picture. It's not, you know, if you get a 7-course meal, you don't want the steak in the first course. You want, the prosciutto, and you want the soup, and you want the smaller stuff. You want the appetizers. You want your palate to be, prepared for the eventual arrival of the steak. And the fact of the matter is, the steak is something that, the steak is something that you need to prepare for, that you need to salivate over, because it is something that doesn't it doesn't come right away. There's another analogy I could use, but I'm not going to use it because it's more of an adult analogy that I would probably use on Twitch. But you know, you get my point. It's the bigger picture, and I'm not just gonna give the steak, which is Thor beats Angus, feuds over, because what's the point of it? What's the point of it? It makes Angus look like a tool if he talks the talk and can't walk the walk. Now it's the slow process of him walking the walk. But either way, speaking of walking the walk, Aries is back with a new member of Aries Titans, and honestly, Amiri actually got the best in-ring performance out of anyone I've added to the Aries Titans. So maybe Amiri is somebody who will stick around, but also Damien Carruthers was supposed to be put under a mask to hide the fact that it was Damien Carruthers. Even though if you want to look at it from the other side, it being Damien Carruthers adds a little bit more credibility to this Aries Titans, that they are able to beat somebody who used to be here, even though he might not have the chemistry as he had with Warren Young. There's other ways to put it too. Aries also hints that in the next month, Aries Titans will have another new member, specifically at Golden Dreams. How is it given? I mean, I don't think that it was given that because of our audience, because it was the same length as the previous one. I think that the reason why the segment got hit is because Mickey Star was protected. But the fact of the matter is, the celebration happens as someone finally defeats Mickey Star for the SWF World Heavyweight Championship, as Ray Kingman is the new world champion. And the show ends with the All-Star team reigning supreme, but the All-Star team has also picked fights with the Outlaw. They've also still have Romeo Hart. They also still have now picking fights with Dusty Streets, because Ripcord cost Dusty the U.S. Championship, which now opens the possibility of the Streets of Rage again going for the tag team titles. So even though Ray Kingman might be world champion, the All-Star team picked fights and have a lot of enemies. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it to the other guy, Amari, because I was genuinely impressed by what he did. But if you want to see more from SWF, you will likely see more. It's just a matter of when, as a new era begins. And that is it from me. I will see you in the next one.